Steve Aldrich, are the Scientology numbers dwindling because of the pandemic? Do shut-in Scientologists have a look at anti-Scientology web material while under quarantine that they normally wouldn't have time to investigate? Hey, Steve, thanks for the question. I have no way of actually and objectively answering the question because Scientology's membership numbers and census figures are completely non-transparent. Scientology does not share that information at all. They do happen to know on a weekly basis exactly how many active Scientologists there are all over the world. Those statistics are collected duly every single Thursday after 2 and compiled and totaled and put on a graph. And so this information is definitely there, but very few people, even in the world of Scientology, are able to access those numbers. No public Scientologists have access to that information at all. It is only at the international management level, which is basically CMO International, David Miscavige's organization, RTC, international management. Those are the guys who have those figures. So it's, less than 100 people. Actually, probably, if I think about it in terms of who actually has direct access to that information, yeah, probably about 100 people around the world could get that data. So it's not a well-known piece of information. Just throwing that out there. I thought you'd want to know that. Now, as far as my conjecture about that, based on what I'm seeing Scientologists doing, and there is a marked increase in internet activity on the part of Scientologists because by necessity there has to be, because we're all shut in. And even Scientology churches, for the most part, or at least some part, are complying with orders to, follow social distancing, even closing and shuttering their doors. I know Cincinnati org. I know a lot of the orgs around the Western United States are closed. They're just not letting people in at all. But then we also know through Tony Ortega's blog and through Mike Rinder's blog, where they post promotional pieces and information coming out of the Scientology world, that they are still gathering in some org locations. Denmark is open. There's probably other European and American orgs that are open in defiance of social distancing guidelines and CDC who regulations and recommendations, but they're, Scientology is nothing if not absolutely positively sure that they are right about everything. So they don't really care about, that, but they do care about the apparency of complying with the law. That is very, very important to them. And that's why you see promo pieces being put out by Scientology right now where Scientologists are wearing masks and they're running around cleaning things and they're trying to be what they perceive as a positive force for change in their communities or in their, or in their environment. Anyway, so we're also seeing at least one organization, I think it's London, this guy, Charlie Wakely, is got a YouTube channel, and he's actually posting videos going chapter by chapter through the Scientology handbook and talking about it. And I actually reached out and invited him onto my show. I actually left a comment on one of his videos and said, "Hey, man, I'd like to interview you on my show." He responded saying, email me at, whatever his email address was, and I did. Haven't heard back yet. But I find that pretty interesting that they're putting a YouTube presence out there. I'm really not sure what to think about that. I don't know if he has, approval from on high, but I somehow doubt it. And this goes to your question, Steve, because one of the reasons why I don't think it's an authorized activity for Scientologists to be on YouTube putting up videos, if they've thought this through, and I would think that they would have, is because YouTube also recommends other videos for you to watch on the same subject or area. So when somebody, as a Scientologist, posts Scientology videos about, talking pro-Scientology stuff, viewers are going to get a whole list of recommended videos, which are going to include videos featuring Mike, Leah, Tony Ortega, Mark Bunker, right? These are very, very big videos. They might even get the Jason Begay video recommended to them, as well as sometimes maybe some of my content or Aaron's content will pop up too. So this is a little bit of a danger for them to be posting stuff up on YouTube because of those recommendations and stuff. But they're out there doing it, and I'm a little curious as to why. They seem to also be posting. I've heard about other YouTube activity by Scientologists also, and this is of course all in addition to the official Scientology website and official Scientology videos. Those are kind of their own thing. These are more homegrown videos. Anyway, just kind of commenting on that. Because I think those are all ways that Scientologists are trying to stay engaged and trying to stay in the headspace and trying to keep up the indoctrination. Charlie, I believe, is a staff member, I think, in London. So I think that's why he's trying to do this and engaging with other Scientologists. And I think that other staff are probably thinking along the same lines because, as I've mentioned before, Scientology is a very one-on-one, in-person activity. It's very, very, very difficult to propagate or teach Scientology or use Scientology without being there in person to do it, especially when it comes to their training and, more importantly, their auditing procedures. That's not something that you can do over the internet. And I don't think David Miscavige is ever going to set up a system where they're doing Scientology over the internet. All right, so I kind of use this question to sort of go on about some of the activities that I've seen from Scientologists right now. I imagine that they are definitely losing members. I think they're losing members pretty much on a fairly daily basis because of the amount of negative, word about it out there. Yet at the same time, I think that it's gotten down to such a small number at this point of, the enthusiastic Scientologists that they tend to be, the ones who are left are either hardcore fanatics, right? Fervent believers who are never going to change their mind no matter what you tell them or what you say to them, and their immediate family and friends. And much of the staff, much of the Sea Org are second, third, fourth generation Scientologists. So, even they are motivated to stay on staff, stay in the Sea Org because their family, who might not even be staff or Sea Org, they might just be Scientology Wales or Scientology Public. They stay in the Sea Org, they stay in the Scientology staff because they don't want to lose those connections. So I think in a number of ways, we're really down to the hardcore, core of what is left of Scientologists, or like I said, their immediate family and friends who cannot disconnect from them or cannot let them know what they really think about Scientology because they'd end up getting shunned, disconnected, and they don't want that. I could be, and I have to always sort of put this out there, I probably don't say this enough, but I could be wrong about that too. I might be looking at this picture in an overly optimistic fashion. What I am positive about is that Scientology is not growing right now. That I am sure of. I think it's probably more of a bit of a static situation. But as I said a few weeks ago, and as I think I will say now with this answer, I do think that they are still losing people because of the exposure of the abusive practices. And I think all that work was not done in vain or was wasted at all. I think we've lost a whole lot of Scientologists because of that. And I think that as these guidelines go on into the future, and we're not really talking too much about this, but I'm anticipating that these social distancing guidelines and businesses being shut down and all the stay-at-home orders and all of that, this is probably going to go on for quite a while. A little hard to say. I think that there's going to be waves of it maybe in some places, while other places are going to stay locked down because they're sensible. But I think that's what's going to end up happening here. So I think long range, we are definitely going to see a reduction in Scientology membership over the coming months. I have no real doubts about that. So there you go.